Part 19. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 182. Sister, I'm just being polite, why do you take it seriously? You eat it, Lu Kaiu urged with a smile. Li Zhe glanced at the little bun in front of him, and then at Lu Kaiu. It was hard to resist the kindness, so he opened his mouth to bite the little bun and ate it in 2 or 3 bites. Soon, there were 6 small buns in a bag, and 3 of them were eaten by Li Zhe. Seeing that Lu Kaiu wanted to feed him, Li Zhe declined and said, "Don't feed me anymore. If you eat these buns again, I will eat them all." "You can eat them. It's okay, I gained 2 pounds from eating during the Chinese New Year and am preparing to lose weight." Li Zhe looked her up and down. "If you have such a figure and want to lose weight, will you let other women live with you? Stop losing weight. Your figure is in great shape. If you lose any more weight, it won't look good." "Okay, then I will listen to you and not lose weight," Lu Kaiu said with a smile. "Li Zhe. I just said it casually, do you really listen?" Lu Kaiu picked up another small bun, handed it to Li Zhe's mouth, and said with a smile, "Eat it, you're welcome." "Li Zhe. If you didn't say you weren't going to lose weight, why would you still give it to me?" At Lu Kaiu's insistence, the last 2 little buns also entered Li Zhe's stomach. Lu Kaiu took out a tissue and wiped her hands. "Are you a little thirsty after only eating steamed buns? Do you want some more soy milk?" "Li Zhe. Sister, you have drank the soy milk, is it appropriate for me to drink it again? This should be considered indirect, right?" Lu Kaiu's way of showing her affection was as straightforward as it could be. How could Li Zhe not see it? And it can't be said that he doesn't have a good impression of Lu Kaiu. After all, who wouldn't be greedy for her long legs? Of course, this is a joke. Li Zhe really likes Lu Kaiu, who has a cheerful, lively, and sunny personality, and is not just greedy for her body. The problem is that the time is really not right now. He has not settled Xiao Qiao and Zhou Ziyu yet, so how can he provoke Lu Kaiu again? Lu Kaiu is not Su Yisha, who is far away in Hangzhou, but his classmate. In front of 2 girlfriends, one openly and one secretly, he blatantly eats the grass from the nest. I really feel that I am not dying fast enough. However, Li Zhe really enjoyed being chased by a beautiful girl like Lu Kaiu. Dormitory 408. Zhou Ziyu stayed in bed until after 8 o'clock, almost 9 o'clock, before lazily getting up from the bed. In front of Li Zhe, the attentive and considerate little lover was secretly a sleepy little girl who stayed in bed. She picked up the phone next to the pillow, looked at it, and found a text message. After reading the text message, Zhou Ziyu couldn't help but smile on her face and became energetic. After opening the curtain, she got down from the upper bunk and began to get busy, washing herself, putting on makeup, and choosing clothes to dress herself up. Huo Lily came back from outside and saw Zhou Ziyu dressing up carefully, with a smile on her face and in a good mood. She smiled and said, "You are so beautifully dressed and so happy. Ziyu, are you going to see me, boyfriend?" Zhou Ziyu just chuckled and said nothing. Cao Xiaoqian opened the curtain and looked down. "Ziyu, is your boyfriend coming to pick you up?" Upon hearing this, Huo Lily said, "Your boyfriend is here, can you let us meet him by the way?" She was really curious about Zhou Ziyu's boyfriend. After looking at the 2 of them, Zhou Ziyu smiled and said, "He is busy with work and has no time." "Do not have time?" Huo Lily said a little angrily, "He is so busy that he doesn't even have time to connect with his girlfriend." "Then Ziyu, you still have to take the initiative to find him." Zhou Ziyu smiled nonchalantly, "I didn't let him pick him up. He's busy with work now, and I don't want to affect him." After Zhou Ziyu left, Cao Xiaoqian said to Huo Lily, "Don't you think that Ziyu's boyfriend is a bit mysterious?" Huo Lily nodded in agreement, "It's quite mysterious. Ziyu didn't even want to say his name." As soon as Li Jie and Lu Kaiyu entered the company, the employees greeted them one after another. "Mr. Li. Kaiyu, you're here." The cheerful, lively, and sensible Lu Kaiyu is very popular in the company, and even Zhao Jie likes her very much. After arriving at the office area and meeting Yu Zhongfeng, Li Jie first learned about the development progress of Duntun. Of the 16 game competition maps initially planned for Dandantang, 12 have been completed so far, such as Ice Age, Doomsday Ruins, Grand Canyon, etc. 2 copies of the game have also been completed, Ant Nest and Boga King City. As for the design and production of game characters, weapons, and various props, they have all been completed. After hearing what Yu Zhongfeng said carefully, Li Jie asked him, "Yu Gong, can you give it a preliminary try now?" Yu Zhongfeng is now the director of the company's game production department, but for this kind of technical staff, Li Jie also calls him Yu Gong. Yes, data can be loaded into the completed maps and copies. Li Jie randomly selected a map called Ancient Karst Cave, and then called Lu Kaiyu, who was already on duty at the front desk, over. He tried it out with Yu Zhongfeng's first team, Lu Kaiyu, and Zhao Jie's first team. After the trial was over, Li Jie first asked Zhao Jie and Lu Kaiyu for their opinions. After all, this is a female-oriented game, and girls' opinions matter. Zhao Jie may not play games very much, but during the trial just now, Lu Kaiyu handed over the operation to her and only said, "It's quite fun." "Kaiyu, what do you think?" Li Jie looked at Lu Kaiyu. Lu Kaiyu should usually be more fond of playing. She knew the game Dandantang as soon as she got started, and she played it very well. Even with Zhao Jie dragging her down, she still defeated him and Yu Zhongfeng alone. Although Yu Zhongfeng can make games, he is not very good at playing games. Lu Kaiyu was very enthusiastic about giving opinions and said a little excitedly, "I think this game will definitely be popular after it is launched." "Why do you say that?" Li Jie asked with a smile. "Because there are very few games suitable for girls now, this game is very suitable for girls. The graphics are beautiful, the cartoon characters are cute, the game is easy to get started, but the competition is very strong. Anyway, I like playing it." After listening to Lu Kaiyu's words, Li Jie nodded, and then said, "Let's try another copy of the game." Next, the 4 of them tried out the Ant Nest copy. Compared with the version of Duntun in the previous life, in Li Jie's opinion, the difference between this version of Dandantang and Dandantang is not very big. After all, he provided the design ideas for the game. The competitive battle map is basically the same as the gameplay of the game copy. There are only some differences in the game graphics, character design, weapons, and props. In terms of game quality, this version of Duntun is only better than the previous version. Therefore, after the game is launched, as long as it can be operated well, it should be able to become popular. After trying out the game, Li Jie said to Yu Zhongfeng and Zhao Jie, "Call Yao Ziliang and Zhuang Jian, and let's go to the conference room for a meeting. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 183. Yao Ziliang and Zhuang Jian are the game planners of the team. After finishing speaking, Li Jie thought for a while and said to Lu Kaiyu, "Kaiyu, you can also go to the meeting and be responsible for the minutes of the meeting." Lu Kaiyu didn't expect that Li Jie would ask her, a temporary worker, to attend the meeting. She was a little surprised, but she immediately nodded and agreed. Li Jie, Zhao Jie, Yu Zhongfeng, Zhuang Jian, Yao Ziliang, and Lu Kaiyu came to the small conference room and sat down together. Li Jie raised the first topic of this meeting, which is how to charge for the game after it is launched. Nowadays, free games are the mainstream, and you can't even think about selling cards for a web game, so how to make money by charging fees is a problem that must be solved. The method proposed by Yao Ziliang and Zhuang Jian is to sell props and VIP privileges, which is also a common charging method for free games. Li Jie nodded in approval, but also made a request. You can buy props and have VIP privileges, but they can't disrupt the balance of the game too much. Because he doesn't want to make a profit, he wants to continue the game Dandantang for a long time. When the mobile game becomes popular, he will then transplant it to the mobile game and become one of the pillar games of the game company. Mr. Li, in this case, the revenue from the game will be relatively limited, Yu Zhongfeng said. The revenue generation of free games is based on destroying the balance of the game. The more paid items you sell, the more you make. However, if you destroy the balance of the game too much, it will cause a large loss of players. Therefore, many game companies are trying to find a suitable balance between making money and game balance. Yi Gong, we can also use other ways to generate income, Li Jie said with a smile. For example, selling game skins, game fashions, colored hair beans, entry effects, rare weapons with slightly higher attributes but in small quantities, etc. Mr. Li, aren't you talking about the way to generate income in QQ space? Yao Ziliang, the game planner, reacted immediately. Yes, it is the way to generate income in QQ space, Li Zhe nodded and said. Since QQ space can generate revenue through these methods, why should we borrow these methods to generate revenue for our games? This method of making money in QQ space was later completely transplanted by Goose Factory to games such as PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and League of Legends. After listening to Li Zhe's words, Yu Zhongfeng, Zhao Jie, and others suddenly felt that their ideas were broadened and they all nodded in agreement. The next topic to discuss is which platform the game should be released on. Just like novel publishing requires a platform, game publishing also requires a platform. Yu Zhongfeng, Yao Ziliang, and Zhuang Jian were discussing which gaming platform to choose. A large game platform has a large number of users, which can bring more popularity to the game, and the game is more likely to become popular, but the revenue share is much higher, especially for a new company like Qwen Technology, which has not proven its strength in the industry. The split will be more demanding. As for the small game platform, the revenue sharing is small, but the number of users is limited and it cannot bring much popularity to the game. It is difficult for the game to become popular. We don't have to sell it on a game platform, Li Jie said suddenly. Yu Zhongfeng, Yao Ziliang, and Zhuang Jian were all stunned when they heard this. The game is not released on the gaming platform, where can it be released? Penguin didn't make games at the beginning, but why can it make games? Mr. Li, what do you mean? Yu Zhongfeng understood a little bit. What we need are users, not game platforms. Any platform that can bring us a large number of users can be our partner. Li Jie paused and then said, the current development momentum of Xiaonei.com is very strong, and the number of users is growing rapidly. We can definitely cooperate with them. We will first let the game be sold on Xiaonei.com, and when the game becomes popular, we will cooperate with them. If we talk about cooperation with other platforms, it will be a matter of course. Xiaonei.com, later known as Renren.com, will definitely be the most rapidly developing social platform in the next 2 to 3 years. It was once known as Facebook, and it was listed on Nasdaq in 2011. If not for the mistakes in its later development strategy, if it declines, it is very likely that it will become one of the internet giants. Happy Farm, also known as the vegetable stealing game, first became popular online on Renren.com. Li Jie doesn't care whether Renren will decline in the future. He just wants to take advantage of Renren's real rise to get online with this platform in advance, and then use the development momentum of Renren to bring Dandantang to operations are on fire. Once there is a revenue-generating pillar game, the game company can then consider developing other money-making games. After listening to Li Jie's analysis, Yu Zhongfeng, Yao Ziliang, and Zhuang Jian looked at each other and couldn't help but feel a little convinced. Despite his young age, this boss doesn't seem to care much about company management, but his ideas and vision are extremely broad. At critical moments, he can always put forward constructive suggestions and make the final decision. Lu Kaiu, who was sitting next to Li Jie and taking minutes of the meeting, couldn't help but feel a little lost as she watched Li Jie talk eloquently and make Yu Zhongfeng, Zhao Jie and others nod their heads. Kaiu, are you recording? Li Jie turned around and found Lu Kaiu standing there in a daze, so he reminded her. Hearing Li Jie's voice, Lu Kaiu came back to her senses and said in a panic, I'll record it right now. Noticing Lu Kaiu's reaction, Zhao Jie gave her a strange look. The last topic is the launch, promotion and operation of the game. According to Yu Zongfeng's estimate, Duntuntang will be ready for preliminary internal testing at the end of March, and will be available for public testing in early April. But at present, the company only has one R/U0026D department and no marketing department, so the marketing department must be established as soon as possible. The marketing department includes 3 departments: operations, customer service, and marketing. For the game operations department, just transfer people from the current R/U0026D department. But for customer service and marketing, we need to recruit new people from outside and establish new ones. Li Jie looked at Zhao Jie, who was sitting on the left. Zhao Jie, do you want to stay with me as an assistant, or go to the marketing department? Mr. Li, I still want to go to the marketing department to exercise. Zhao Jie thought for a while and said. Working as an assistant next to Li Jie gives you a lot of power, but there is little room for advancement. And she could see that Li Jie wanted to increase the management of the company and would participate more in the company's management in the future. As an assistant, she will lose her temporary management power and go back to doing errands and odd jobs. Li Jie nodded. Then I'll give you 2 options. One is to go directly to the customer service department to be the supervisor, and the other is to try to discuss cooperation with the school network first. If you choose to negotiate, you will be the manager of the marketing department if the negotiation is successful. If the negotiation fails, you should stop going to the marketing department and continue to be my assistant. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 184. After hearing the choice given by Li Jie, Zhao Jie hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and said, Mr. Li, I am willing to negotiate. Li Jie will give Zhao Jie a chance, mainly because after getting in touch with her in the past 6 months, he found that she is really capable and she is growing very fast. The company is managed in an orderly manner by her, so there is no need for him, the hands-off boss, to worry about it. In addition, what Li Jie admires most about Zhao Jie is that she knows how to behave appropriately and respects her boss. If you don't think you're capable enough, you won't take your boss seriously. To be honest, the company does not lack a capable employee, but capable employees may not be able to find a suitable platform for them to perform after they leave the company. As the saying goes, 1,000-mile horses often exist but bull does not always exist. But if Zhao Jie wants to reach the top in one step, she must prove her ability. Otherwise, not only will Li Jie be worried about handing over the marketing department to her, but other employees will not be convinced either. If she is willing to negotiate with Renren and the negotiation is successful, then he would give Zhen Zhaojie a chance, recruit an experienced person to be her deputy, and let her try out as the manager of the marketing department. And if she can't negotiate, then don't say anything. Seeing that Zhaojie agreed, Li Jie nodded, and then looked at Yu Zhongfeng. Yu Gong, if Dandantang is launched smoothly and the operation is successful, you will be the manager of the R/U0026D department. Yu Zhongfeng nodded calmly. Mr. Li, don't worry, I will do my best. He understood what Li Jie meant. The prerequisite for an increase in salary was that he should be at the helm of the development team so that Duntuntang would not have any major problems from the final stage of research and development to its online operation. I also have a good impression of Yu Zhongfeng and Li Jie. Lao Yu is not good at dealing with people and his abilities are only average, but he is calm, serious and careful in doing things. Li Jie does not need someone who is too capable or thoughtful. He has no shortage of good game ideas. What he needs is an executor like Lao Yu who can strictly follow his ideas and orders. Zhao Jie, go and rent the offices next door and opposite as the office space of the marketing department, and then send out recruitment information online. There will be a unified interview next weekend, and I will come over. After saying the last thing, Li Jie announced the adjournment of the meeting. At almost noon, Lu Kai was sitting in front of the computer at the front desk chatting on QQ. Her part-time job was really easy, just like playing. There was nothing going on at the front desk. Qwen Technology was still in the game development stage, and there were no external affairs. When people come to visit, she has less to worry about. You only need to occasionally print, distribute documents, and do some odd jobs, and then you can play with the computer. Dong dong, the table was knocked twice. Lu Kai looked away from the QQ chat window, looked up, and found that it was Li Jie. Mr. Li, do you have anything to do with me? She didn't rely on her good relationship with Li Jie to call him by his first name. Like other employees in the company, she also called him Mr. Li. You treat me to buns in the morning, and I'll treat you to dinner at noon, Li Jie said to her with a smile. But there is a working lunch at noon. Lu Kai said hesitantly. Stop eating work meals and try something new. Li Jie didn't take Lu Kai far away, so he found a pretty good restaurant near the company. Walking into the restaurant, Lu Kai glanced at it and was stunned for a moment. Then she said to Li Jie in surprise, isn't that girl Josie from our school? Why is she here to eat? Lu Kai didn't need to remind him. As soon as Li Jie came in, he found his little lover sitting by the window, eating like a bourgeoisie. In fact, people are called by him. But he didn't expect that by such a coincidence, Josie would also come to this restaurant for dinner. Tsuyu, what a coincidence, you're here to eat too. Li Jie walked to Josie's table and said hello to her in a normal way. Josie was dressed very beautifully today, wearing a navy blue waist-length skirt and a white lamb wool coat. She looked indescribably intellectual, elegant, and fashionable. It's just that the temperature in Hongcheng has just risen and is still less than 20 degrees. It's a bit cold to wear a long skirt now. Seeing Li Jie and Lu Kai walking over, Josie stood up a little surprised as if he had just seen them. He smiled and said softly, it's a coincidence. My boyfriend is in a company nearby. At work, Li Jie, are you coming here to eat with your friends? Josie said and glanced at Li Jie specifically. Li Jie felt a little guilty when she looked at him. Why was it made like he was having a secret meeting with his lover and was discovered by his girlfriend? My company is nearby. After Li Jie finished speaking, he introduced her, this is my classmate Lu Kai. Josie smiled and nodded to Lu Kai, and Lu Kai also smiled and nodded to her. After saying hello to Josie, the two of them found a seat not far away and sat down. After sitting down, Lu Kai glanced at Josie again, and then said, Li Jie, do you know Josie? Li Jie pretended to be calm and said, we met once during the dormitory party. Dorm fellowship, Lu Kai was a little curious. Yes, Li Jie briefly told her about the friendship between the four dormitories. After listening, Lu Kai nodded, and then said, just now Josie said that her boyfriend also works nearby. I am still a little curious. What are you curious about? I wonder what her boyfriend is like. What kind of boyfriend would such a beautiful girl like her find? Hearing Lu Kai mention Josie's boyfriend, Li Jie couldn't help feeling a little strange. Because Josie's boyfriend is him, and he is sitting here. She is beautiful, and you are not bad either. Hearing Li Jie praise herself, Lu Kaiyu couldn't help but smile. Next, Li Jie picked up the menu and started ordering. They simply ordered a few of the restaurant's specialty dishes. After the dishes were served, the two of them chatted casually while eating. Regarding Lu Kaiyu, Li Jie was actually very conflicted. He knew clearly that he should not provoke Lu Kaiyu again, and he must not eat the grass next to the nest until Xiao Qiao and Zhou Ziyu were dealt with. But he didn't want to see Lu Kaiyu have a boyfriend. When he thought that such a beautiful girl who had a crush on him and had an affair with him was chased away by another man, he always felt a little bit cheated. Thinking of this, Li Jie thought of Shen Xinyi again. He didn't want to see her have a boyfriend. He also knew that his thinking was wrong. Seriously eating from the bowl, thinking about the plate, and looking at the pot. Blame it all on this damn greed and possessiveness. When he only had Xiao Qiao, Li Jie still insisted on not wanting to destroy the intimate relationship between him and Xiao Qiao. But after he had Zhou Ziyu again, it became harder to control his greed, and he was a little dissatisfied with hugging her from left to right. Since he is destined to have a Shuro field, why not have one or two more? I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 185. When the meal was almost finished, Li Jie glanced at Zhou Ziyu pretending to be unintentional and found that the table was empty and the person had left. Then he felt his cell phone vibrate in his pocket. He took it out and took a look at it, and couldn't help but smile. Seeing this, Lu Kaiyu glanced at him curiously. After eating, Li Jie did not return to the company, but just sent Lu Kaiyu downstairs. Seeing Lu Kaiyu smiling and waving to him and walking into the office building, Li Jie smiled, turned around and left. He came to the parking lot to pick up the car, and then drove on the road. He returned to the restaurant where he had just eaten, stopped on the side of the road, and pressed down the window. Looking at the graceful Zhou Ziyu standing in front of him, Li Jie smiled and said, "Beauty, do you want a taxi?" Zhou Ziyu glanced at him with a smile, walked to the passenger seat, opened the door and sat in. After getting in the car, Zhou Ziyu took off her lamb wool coat, and her beautiful white and smooth back was exposed. It turned out that her navy blue dress was backless. Li Jie looked at his sexy and charming little lover, and his heart couldn't help but feel warm, knowing who she dressed up so beautifully for. He put his arms around Zhou Ziyu's white and smooth back, and kissed her red and soft lips directly. Zhou Ziyu also hugged him and responded enthusiastically. Just as the two were having a selfless intimacy, suddenly, a harsh trumpet sounded. A Volkswagen driving from the entrance of the restaurant was about to enter the road, but Li Jie's BMW 530i was parked in the road. Li Jie endured his anger, let go of Zhou Ziyu, ignited the engine, stepped on the accelerator, and started the car. Zhou Ziyu tidied her hair and clothes, took out her makeup mirror and lipstick from her handbag, and started to touch up her makeup. Li Jie said with a smile while driving, "Stop touching up your makeup, or I will eat your lipstick again." Zhou Ziyu glanced at him charmingly, and obediently put away her lipstick and mirror, and stopped touching up her makeup. Li Jie drove to the outer ring road and found a remote section of road to stop. "Honey, why did you park the car here?" Zhou Ziyu looked confused. "What do you think I want to do?" Li Jie said funny. He didn't believe she really didn't understand. "Aren't you envious of Xiao Qiao? I will take you to experience it today." The content here is omitted. Li Jie hugged his little lover who was limp in his arms, enjoying the tenderness. "Husband, if you really have a crush on that girl, don't worry about me, I won't object." Zhou Ziyu, who was leaning in his arms, suddenly said softly. When Li Jie heard this, he was stunned for a moment and said a little surprised, "You mean Lu Kaiyu?" "Yeah," Zhou Ziyu snorted lightly. Li Jie looked down at her and smiled. "Pa," he slapped her little butt. "Ah, husband," Zhou Ziyu called out charmingly. "You dare to trick me, This is your punishment, Li Jie said. Funny. Husband, I really have no objection, Zhou Ziyu said softly and seriously. You don't object, but will you be jealous? Will you feel uncomfortable? Li Jie looked at her and said warmly. Zhou Ziyu fell silent and did not speak. Li Jie hugged her tightly and said comfortingly, okay, she and I have nothing to do, so don't think too much about it. Zhou Ziyu understood all the worries in his heart. Now Xiao Qiao was his real girlfriend, and she was his only lover. But if someone else joined in, she would become one of the lovers, and her unique specialness would be gone. How could she not feel uncomfortable? Li Jie shook his head in his heart. It was not easy to hug him and have more beautiful girlfriends. People are not tools, everyone has their own ideas. Zhou Ziyu is so obedient and sensible mainly to cater to him and please him. If he really relies on this, he will not care about her thoughts at all and do whatever he wants. Over time, no matter how caring the little lover is, he will leave her. Zhou Ziyu raised his head and glanced at Li Jie, then buried his head in his chest. She was very upset, and she was becoming more and more irrational. First she was jealous of Xiao Qiao, and today she was jealous of Lu Kaiyu. Zhou Ziyu understood better than anyone that Li Jie could not only have two women, her and Xiao Qiao. She broke his bottom line and became the third party. Then there will definitely be a fourth party, or even a fifth or sixth party. But she still greedily hoped that that day would come as late as possible. The two of them had their own thoughts and were silent for a long time. Li Jie suddenly said, Tsuyu, shall I buy you a car? Buy a car? Zhou Ziyu was stunned for a moment. But I can't drive, and I don't have a driver's license. She didn't understand why Li Jie suddenly thought of buying her a car. If you don't know how to drive, I'll teach you. If you don't have a driver's license, take the test. Then, Li Jie paused and said, Tsuyu, it's a bit unsafe for you to walk around alone and meet me. Zhou Ziyu is so beautiful that she is always alone and easily spotted. If something happened to her, he would regret it to death. But if there is a car and Zhou Ziyu's cleverness, the probability of an accident will be much smaller. Li Jie actually wanted to find a female bodyguard for her, but it was difficult to find a reliable bodyguard. Many rich people have been in trouble because they were betrayed by their bodyguards, and they were in harmony with each other. Seeing Li Jie's worried eyes, Zhou Ziyu understood that he was worried about his safety, and nodded obediently, hubby, I listen to you. Then I will teach you how to drive starting today, and then you can quickly sign up for a driving school. At this point, Li Jie stopped and thought for a moment and said, forget it, don't take the exam. I'll buy one for you. Before, he signed up for a driving school and gave the instructor a red envelope. The other person hinted to him that if he spent more money, he would not need to take the test and could directly get the certificate. But he still chose to take the exam. Since he was sure of passing the exam, why spend money on it? However, it is too time-consuming for novices to take the exam, so I might as well buy one for Zhou Ziyu. I'll buy you some clothes first, and then I'll teach you how to drive, Li Jie said, started the car and drove straight to the city center. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 186. Zhou Ziyu's expensive skirt was not really torn. It was just wrinkled by Li Jie and could no longer be worn out to meet people. In addition, her little black underwear was stained and could not be worn. Arriving at the commercial street in the city center, Li Jie parked the car and asked Zhou Ziyu to stay in the car. Then he randomly entered a women's clothing store and picked out a skirt and a set of underwear for Zhou Ziyu. Li Jie feels that the biggest change in him is that he has become thicker-skinned. In front of female customers and female shopping guides, I would not feel embarrassed when choosing underwear for Zhou Ziyu. Seeing that the underwear sizes were unclear, I even consulted with the female shopping guide. On the other hand, it was another female customer who was a little embarrassed and too embarrassed to continue choosing underwear. Li Jie remembered a saying, as long as you don't feel embarrassed, others will be embarrassed. After returning to the car with the clothes he bought, he started the car and left the commercial street, heading towards the school. After leaving the city and reaching a remote section of the suburbs, Li Jie stopped the car, asked Zhou Ziyu to change into her clothes, and then began to teach her how to drive step by step. I really taught her how to drive, not how to drive. Teach Zhou Ziyu how to get familiar with the driving position, teach her how to start the car, put it into gear, step on the clutch, how to accelerator, etc. I have to say that Zhou Ziyu is really smart. Li Jie taught her for more than an hour, and she was able to drive slowly on a road with few cars. Slow down, just keep this speed, don't drive faster. Seeing Zhou Ziyu stepping on the accelerator a little too hard, Li Jie reminded her. Husband, I think it's quite easy to learn to drive. Zhou Ziyu glanced at him and said softly with a slight smile. Don't look at me, look at the road, Li Jie said with a smile. It's not difficult to learn how to read a car. It's rare to learn how to deal with emergencies when you're on the road alone. You don't have any experience on the road, so you're still far behind. Yeah, Zhou Ziyu nodded lightly. Despite Li Jie's verbal disparagement of Zhou Ziyu, in fact, in his opinion, she should practice driving for a few days before she can become more proficient in driving. When driving, first look at experience and secondly look at psychological quality. Although Zhou Ziyu lacks experience, her mental quality is so good that she doesn't panic at all when driving and responds calmly. If Zhou Ziyu hadn't been taught by him personally, her driving skills would have been relatively unfamiliar. Li Jie really thought she had practiced driving before. After Zhou Ziyu drove for more than 40 minutes, Li Jie found that she was indeed driving steadily, so he asked her to speed up a little. I used to drive as slowly as a bicycle, but now I drive faster than a bicycle. After letting Zhou Ziyu drive for almost an hour, Li Jie looked at the time and found that it was almost 6 o'clock, so he said to her, Ziyu, let's stop practicing today. Let me drive. I'll take you back school. Oh, Zhou Ziyu responded softly, with a somewhat reluctant expression. It seems that she was a little addicted to driving and didn't drive enough. Li Jie glanced at her and said with a smile, tomorrow, I will take you to practice driving for another day and let you drive as much as you can. Really? Zhou Ziyu suddenly beamed. Of course it's true. Li Jie smiled at her. Hey, watch the road. On the way back, Zhou Ziyu looked at Li Jie who was driving, as if he couldn't get enough of it. She didn't really like practicing driving, she just wanted to stay with him for a while longer. In the past, Zhou Ziyu would see other girls and talk on the phone with her boyfriend for an hour or two, which she found difficult to understand. We talk for so long every day, what's there to talk about? But now she kind of understands. There are 7 days in a week, and she only has the opportunity to spend some time with Li Jie on 2 days on the weekend. Usually in school, she could only look at him from a distance, and even to prevent attracting other people's attention, she couldn't even look at him more. And if someone else joins in, some of the time she spends with Li Jie will be taken away. Ziyu, why do you always look at me? Li Jie noticed her gaze. Nothing, Zhou Ziyu smiled. Li Jie glanced at her, vaguely guessing what she was thinking, and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Soon the car drove near the school. Zhou Ziyu glanced outside and said to Li Jie, hubby, I'll stay here and we'll go separately. Li Jie shook his head, I'd better send you to school. But there are so many people in the school. It's okay. If someone happens to see it, then just expose it. Zhou Ziyu didn't expect him to say that, and couldn't help but be stunned. It's a little late. I'm not worried about leaving you alone on the road, Li Jie said softly. Staring at Li Jie, Zhou Ziyu felt a sore nose and an indescribable feeling in her heart. At this moment, she even felt that it would be nice if Li Jie was an ordinary person. She could stay with him for the rest of her life without having to share it with others. I regret teaching my husband to seek the title of Marquis. After sending Josio to school, Li Jie drove back to the rental house. As soon as he opened the door, Xiao Jiao saw that he was back and stood up from the sofa happily. "Hubby, you are back." "Well, I'm back," Li Jie smiled at her. "Jiao Bao, have you eaten?" "Not yet." "Let's eat together when you come back." "Then what do you want to eat? I'll make it for you." "No, you have been busy at the company for a day and are very tired." "Let me do it," Xiao Jiao said with a smile. After saying that, she ran to the kitchen. "He's had a busy day. I just had a meeting at the company in the morning, and then I had a private meeting with my little lover. I took her to drive first, and then taught her to drive after that. I didn't do much business that day, but I did drive a lot." In the past, when Li Jie saw Xiao Jiao smiling and showing that cute, smart, and playful expression, he would be in a particularly good mood. But tonight, he felt a little confused. "I am really not a qualified scumbag," Li Jie sighed in his heart. On the one hand, he is greedy and wants to take care of more beautiful girls, but on the other hand, he is soft-hearted and hesitant. "When I was with Josio, I felt like I didn't have time to spend with her, and I felt a little sorry for her. When I came back and saw Xiao Jiao, I felt guilty that I shouldn't have deceived her. If two girls can't handle it, the arrangement is clear. What should I do if there are one or two more?" More than half an hour later, Xiao Jiao walked out of the kitchen with 2 bowls of noodles. "Time to eat." She placed a bowl of noodles in front of Li Jie. "Honey, I can only make noodles now, but I will learn to cook more dishes in the future, and I won't let you eat noodles all the time." Looking at Xiao Jiao's smile, Li Jie felt that his heart was getting more and more panicked. The girl in front of him was probably the only person in his 2 lifetimes who had true feelings for him. Although he also noticed that Josio had some real feelings for him. But the relationship between the two is ultimately mixed with too many interests and trade-offs. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 187. Maybe Josio thought she really fell in love with him. But Li Jie knew very well that her love was still mixed with money. Because people will deceive themselves. The same goes for being as smart as Josio. "Husband, eat it quickly, otherwise it will become lumpy and it won't taste good," Xiao Jiao urged with a smile when Li Jie hesitated with his chopsticks. "Okay," Li Jie also smiled at her and started eating noodles. "Husband, are you still going to the company tomorrow?" Xiao Jiao said while eating noodles. Li Jie's hand holding the chopsticks paused. "I have some unfinished business and I have to go tomorrow." Lies are a thing. Once you tell the first lie, you will have to use more lies to cover it up. Then it got out of hand. Li Jie really doesn't want to lie to Xiao Jiao all the time. The more lies he accumulates, the greater the damage will be caused when they are exposed. He realized that he couldn't keep dragging it out like this. He couldn't wait until Xiao Jiao noticed it and then react passively. If you tell too many lies, one day they will be exposed. If Xiao Jiao found out that he was lying to her and had been lying to her, with her temperament, she would definitely break up with him. Therefore, we need to find a suitable time to confess and admit our mistakes. However, the time is not yet here. After finishing the noodles, Xiao Jiao went to the kitchen to wash the dishes again. After coming back, she leaned into Li Jie's arms. "Husband," her voice was nasal, coquettish, and seductive, a bit pretentious. "Speak nicely," Li Jie was unmoved. Xiao Jiao bit her lip and gave him a strange look. Did he change his gender today? "Husband, don't you want to?" "What am I thinking?" Li Jie glanced at her, as if he didn't understand. "I took the initiative, but you're still pretending, right?" Xiao Qiao got a little angry and hit him. If you don't want to, forget it. After saying that, she stood up and left. Li Jie smiled, put his arms around her slim waist, and pulled her back. This waist is so thin. I saw you crying so hard last night, and I wanted you to rest. But since you asked for it, I will satisfy you. Let me go, now I don't want to anymore, Xiao Qiao said with a proud smile. I already told you not to mention my crying anymore, why are you still saying it? Li Jie threw her on the sofa and said with a smile, it's okay if you don't want to. Now that I think about it, there's no point in crying today. I won't let you go. Don't worry, let's go to the bedroom. I'm not going, I'm just here. When his girlfriend has needs, he, as a boyfriend, must of course satisfy her completely. On Sunday the 24th, Li Jie went to the company to stay for a while, then drove away. He met Zhou Ziu at a nearby small supermarket, and then took her for another day of driving. No, it was a day of driving practice. After practicing driving for a whole day, Zhou Ziu's driving skills have improved greatly. Not only can she drive at low speeds more skillfully, she can even reverse the car and put it into the garage. The speed of getting started was far beyond Li Jie's expectations. Of course, the two of them not only practiced driving, but also drove twice. At around 10 o'clock in the evening, after Li Jie sent Xiao Qiao back to the dormitory, he did not return to the rental house but also returned to the dormitory. In the dormitory, He's Higang, Wang's Haiheng, Yang Hao, Lin Jing are all there, and even the airman Chen Baiyun is here tonight. Wang's Haiheng was coding, Lin Jing was reading and studying, He's Higang and Yang Hao were chatting, and Chen Baiyun was lying on the bed listening to music. Seeing that Li Jie is back, He's Higang and others are all very surprised. Jizi, you came back tonight, He's Higang said. Li Jie smiled and said, come back and see you. Then he pulled up a chair and sat down next to it. Wang's Haiheng stopped typing, looked at Li Jie and said, Jizi, I want to write a new book. What subject matter should you tell me? Li Jie was a little surprised, you're not going to write your book Warcraft Sword Master in Another World. I don't want to write anymore, Wang's Haiheng shook his head a little depressed, my subscriptions have dropped a lot recently, and I don't really want to continue writing. I want to start a new book and try again. At the end of semester reunion, Lu heard that Wang's Haiheng could earn more than 10,000 yuan a month, and she became tender towards him. Wang's Haiheng wanted to stay in school for a few more days and take the opportunity to pick her up. He was not stupid, so he could naturally see that Lu was here for his money, thinking that after he succeeded, he would have a relationship with her, and break up when he got tired of it. In this way, the 10 or 20,000 yuan he spent on her would be useless. It's all wasted. Unexpectedly, when they were about to get the apartment, Lu suddenly disagreed and said to give her a little more time. Wang's Haiheng was so irritated by her that he wanted to do it hard. As a result, he was slapped by Lu. Lu even cried, saying that Wang's Haiheng didn't respect her and thought she was casual. Then she got dressed and ran away. This incident made Wang's Haiheng extremely angry and depressed, and he was in no condition to write a book. The quality of the content he updated for several days in a row was very poor. Therefore, during the period when new books are released, subscriptions decrease instead of increasing. After all, Wang's Haiheng was a newbie. When his subscriptions dropped, he became a little anxious, so he deleted and rewritten the content. After he made such a fuss, the subscription dropped even more. This time, Wang's Haiheng's mentality became even worse, and the more he wrote, the worse he got. After a winter vacation, the average subscription dropped from 1,700 when it was first launched to more than 800 now. After returning to school, Wang's Haiheng found that Lu ignored him, and the two broke up automatically. Lui's attitude changed drastically. She must have found out about his book. Wang Zhaiheng, who was already irritable and depressed because of the book, became even more breathless. He made up his mind to write a popular book and show it to He Lu. Let He Lu know that she underestimated Wang Zhaiheng and looked down on him. She was wrong and regretted it. More than 800 subscriptions. After listening to Wang Zhaiheng's words, Li Jie thought about it and persuaded him. Hengzi, I think you should insist on finishing the first book for a newcomer. Even if it is shorter, it will be 5 to 6 million words. If the first book is about eunuchs, it is very harmful to one's character. He Zhigang also said, Hengzi, I also think you should insist on finishing it. It's not easy for your book to become popular, so don't give up halfway. After a pause, he continued, I also tried writing during the vacation, and then I realized that not everyone can write a book. I couldn't even hold back 2,000 words in a day. Although He Zhigang couldn't continue after writing a few chapters, he learned a lot about the business of writing online articles. Only then did he realize that it was a miracle that a book like Li Jie's became a god, and Wang Zhaiheng's first book to be able to achieve such results with just books is considered a rare achievement. Wang Zhaiheng glanced at the two of them and shook his head disapprovingly. Subscriptions are already like this. It's pointless to just keep writing. I'm going to write the finale and finish the book, and then start a new book. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 188. I have no experience writing a book for the first time and made a lot of mistakes. I will definitely write better in the next book. Seeing Wang Zhaiheng's confident expression, Li Jie couldn't help but shook his head inwardly. Many novice writers, especially those whose first book is a hit, have a common mentality. My next book will definitely be better than the first one, and the results will definitely be better than the first one. But this is often an illusion. What the market is like and what kind of books readers like, many experienced and great authors are unable to grasp. For many newcomers, their first book becomes popular, which is really a coincidence. So when I got serious about writing my second book, the results were not as good as I expected. Li Jie remembered that there was a new author who wrote a lottery-style martial arts fantasy. He won the Rookie King that year, and his divinity had begun to condense. Only the second book could become more popular, and his divinity would be stable. The author also confidently prepared his second upgraded fantasy novel, but the novel failed and the newly condensed godhead immediately dissipated. Looking at Wang Zhaiheng, Li Jie had a hunch that this guy's second book would probably be a hit. Immediately afterwards, Li Jie thought of himself again. In fact, he faced the same situation. The first book became a hit, and his popularity gathered so much that he became a quasi-great master. But if you pounce on the second copy, it will be knocked back to its original form in an instant. Therefore, when choosing the second book, I did not seek innovation, but sought stability. Li Jie immediately decided that his next book would be about mortal flow, because in the next few years, mortal flow was destined to become a big hit, and readers would get tired of the Piao Miao system. However, he will not write so plainly at the beginning. With a short story, he will take him past the secular world and directly enter the map of the world of cultivation. The next day on Monday, Li Jie did not go to class with He Zhigang and the others, but went to the tourism management class. As soon as he walked into tourism management class 1, everyone in the class looked at him. Li Jie is a celebrity in school, not to mention he is the boyfriend of the most beautiful girl in their class. Why are you here? What's wrong? Xiao Qiao was a little surprised and said with a smile. In front of the whole class, she was embarrassed to call her husband. It's okay, Li Jie smiled at her. I'm just here to accompany you to class. Don't you have any classes in the morning? Xiao Qiao was even more surprised. Because Li Jie rarely came to class to see her in the past, let alone accompany her to class. There are classes, but it's okay to skip them once or twice. After Li Jie finished speaking to Xiao Qiao, he looked at Zhang Qiang beside her. "I'll give up my seat so I won't delay you too." Zhang Qiang spoke first before he could speak. The seats in the front row were basically occupied, so after Zhang Qiang gave up her seat to Li Jie, she had to go to the back row to find a seat. Li Jie sat down next to Xiao Jiao. He didn't have a textbook, so he took hers and placed it between them. On the other side of Xiao Jiao was Bai Wei, who nodded to Li Jie. Zhang Yu, who was behind Li Jie, also greeted him warmly. "Why did you remember to accompany me to class today?" Xiao Jiao whispered. "It's nothing, I just want to spend more time with you," Li Jie said and put his arms around her slim waist. Xiao Jiao glanced at him and thought he was a little strange today. He had never seen him so obnoxious before. Could it be that I really missed her after not seeing her for a holiday? Soon, the class bell rang, and a tall, beautiful, and elegant young female teacher in her mid-20s walked in with a lesson plan under her arm. After standing up and saluting, the young female teacher stood on the podium. She glanced down and spotted Li Jie sitting next to Xiao Jiao. She smiled and said, "Li Jie, you are not in the Chinese class, why did you come to the tourism management class?" "I know it's teacher Li's class today, so I came here specially to listen," Li Jie also said with a smile. This young female teacher, named Li Yuan, is a famous beautiful teacher in the school. It is said that many male teachers like her, including Yu Yang, the head teacher of Li Jie's Chinese class. Most of the time when other teachers were in class, people would skip class, but in Li Yuan's class, almost no one skipped class. "You came here specifically to listen to my class? I think you came here specifically to see your girlfriend." Li Yuan glanced at Xiao Jiao, then said to Li Jie with a smile. The classroom suddenly burst into laughter. Xiao Jiao originally thought that Li Jie would come to their class to accompany her in class, but it was just a whim. But what she didn't expect was that in the next few days of this week, Li Jie would come to their class to accompany her every day, and he would not even attend his own class. After a week, the people in their class were already used to Li Jie, and it would be strange if he didn't come one day. Their counselor also joked with Li Jie with a smile, saying that instead of being in the Chinese class, he might as well transfer to their tourism management class. Xiao Jiao was completely confused about Li Jie's abnormal behavior. When she asked him, he said he just wanted to spend more time with her. Want to spend more time with her? He said this as if the two of them would never see each other again. Xiao Jiao guessed, and couldn't help but feel worried in her heart. Could something happen to him? On Friday night, Li Jie was sitting in front of the computer typing, and noticed that Xiao Jiao was always beside him, looking doubtful and worried, hesitant to speak, and completely lost his usual lively and smiling appearance. "Jiao Bao, what's wrong with you? Husband, are you hiding something from me?" Xiao Jiao looked at him and said hesitantly. Li Jie was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "No. No, something is definitely wrong with you," Xiao Jiao said firmly, staring at him. Her intuition is very sensitive. Ever since she saw Li Jie again at the beginning of school, she felt that he seemed to have something on his mind. What can happen to me? Li Jie felt a little uncomfortable being stared at by her. "Husband, if there is really something wrong with your body, you must tell me and don't hide it from me, okay?" Xiao Jiao said softly, his eyes full of worry. Li Jie was confused by what she said. Just now he thought she had noticed something. "Do you still know whether I am in good health or not?" he said funny. Looking at Li Jie's expression, Xiao Jiao realized that she seemed to have misunderstood. "Hubby, are you not terminally ill?" "Terminal illness?" Li Jie. What kind of imagination did this president have to think that he was terminally ill? "Of course not," Li Jie said angrily and funny. "I still want to stay with you forever." When Xiao Jiao heard this, he was obviously relieved. "It's good that you didn't get it." "Jiao Bao, have you watched too many idol dramas about car accidents, amnesia, and leukemia, Li Jie said with a smile. Seeing Li Jie laughing at her, Xiao Qiao immediately became angry. You still laugh at me, and it's all down to you. If you hadn't talked every day and said goodbye to life and death, would I have thought too much about it? As she said that, she rushed up to beat him. Her tone was tearful. Do you know, I've been worried to death for the past 2 days. I'm afraid something will happen to you. Okay, okay, I was wrong. Li Jie hugged Xiao Qiao into his arms, patted her back and comforted her softly. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 189. Husband, what's wrong with you? After a while, Xiao Qiao calmed down. I'm suddenly afraid that you will leave me one day. Li Jie's voice revealed an aura of depression. When Xiao Qiao heard this, he was stunned for a moment and said funnily, are you worried about this? How could I leave you? I can't tell. What if one day you don't like me anymore? Or if I do something that makes you very angry, what if you completely ignore me? No, I will always like you. Even if you do something that makes me very angry, as long as you admit your mistake, I will forgive you. Li Jie held Xiao Qiao tightly in his arms, as if he wanted to rub her into his body. Qiao Bao, then promise me you will never leave me, okay? Husband, I promise you, I will never leave you, Xiao Qiao said softly and emotionally. She heard a hint of weakness in Li Jie's voice, which was something she had never seen before. In Xiao Qiao's impression, Li Jie has always been confident, calm, as if there is nothing he can't solve. Something must have happened that she doesn't know about. She couldn't help but feel a shadow cast over her heart. The two hugged each other tightly like this for a long time. Husband, Xiao Qiao suddenly said softly. Yeah, Li Jie hugged her hard again. Don't hug me so tightly, I can't breathe. This night, Li Jie rarely bullied Xiao Qiao. The two lay on the bed, cuddling each other, quietly enjoying each other's warmth. When the night got late, Xiao Qiao fell asleep in his arms. Li Jie glanced down at her, then smiled to himself. He really didn't know that he was quite talented in acting before. That's right, Li Jie was 50% sincere and 50% just acting. On the train back to Luanzhou, he and Josie watched a movie called The Master Key together. Li Jie's evaluation of this movie is that the most evil thing in human nature is to use one's kindness and justice to harm others. What he did, although not that extreme, was quite despicable. He is plotting against a girl who really likes him, taking advantage of her weaknesses and forcing her to submit step by step. Li Jie feels that the person who understands him best in this world should be Zhou. And the person who knows Xiao Qiao best should be him. Xiao Qiao is the kind of girl who is emotional and prefers soft things over hard things. This kind of girl is naive, emotional, and easy to become soft-hearted. It is possible to be moved. For this kind of girl, if you do something sorry for her, you can't quibble, make excuses, or throw money at her. It will only make her completely disappointed in you, throw the money back to you, smash it in your face, and then leave you. Therefore, you must use emotional tactics to soften her, move her, and make her think of how good you are to her. As long as she softens her heart, is moved, and hesitates, she will have a chance to redeem herself. In fact, Li Jie really doesn't want to play tricks like this, especially using such despicable methods of emotional control on the girl he likes the most. Just like in his last life, he had read and written books for so many years, and he knew most of the routines and methods. You know that if you use more routines and tricks, you can get better. But he just couldn't get over the hurdle in his heart. But now Li Jie has to do this. If he didn't resort to any tricks and just confess to Xiao Qiao, the probability that he could win her back would not be more than half. The reality is like this. Since ancient times, deep love cannot be retained, only routines can win people's hearts. If he didn't resort to tricks, he might lose Xiao Qiao, but if he resorted to tricks, he might keep her. Therefore, he has no choice. March 1st and 2nd are Saturday and Sunday, which are also the days of interviews with CalmProtagonist. Li Jie came to the company early on Saturday morning and interviewed new employees with Zhao Jia and Yu Zhongfeng in the newly rented office opposite. From 9 a.m. to 11:30 noon, in 2.5 hours, I interviewed 20 or 30 people and admitted a dozen people. During the lunch break, Lu Kaiyu and Song Kir were at the front desk, eating a work meal and chatting about topics that girls were interested in. Clothes, shoes, makeup, accessories. Originally, Song Kir had the weekend off, but today the company had a lot of interviews and things to do, so she was called in to work overtime. I heard from Assistant Zhao that the company will recruit more than 30 people this time, Lu Kaiyu said about recruitment. Yeah, Song Karen nodded lightly. The number of employees has more than doubled at once, and the company will be even more lively in the future. I just don't know if there will be a salary increase after the company expands. But it is said that all employees will receive bonuses after the game is successfully launched in April. Xiao you also have part-time jobs. After renting 2 large offices and hiring so many people, the company's scale has suddenly expanded so much. Will the company's financial pressure be great? Lu Kaiyu thought for a while and asked. No, the company is not short of money now. Song Kir glanced at Lu Kaiyu. Xiao, don't you know? Mr. Li has injected another 10 million into the company. 10 million? Lu Kaiyu was stunned. Xiao, you and Li Jie are classmates and have a good relationship. Do you know what his family does? Xiao asked curiously. A student who is still in school can spend more than 10 million to start a business. Many people in the company are curious about Li Jie's family background. I don't know either. Lu Kaiyu shook her head. She felt confused. She had only learned from Counselor Zhang Han that Li Jie invested 1 million, and many people in the school just thought that he took some money from home to start a small company. Who would have thought that Li Jie actually invested more than 10 million? This is no small matter. In the office, Li Jie is writing a negotiation plan. When it comes to cooperating with Renren, he will definitely not let Zhao Jia go there alone. The probability of success is almost zero. Li Jie plans to select 2 people with business negotiation experience from the people recruited this time to serve as Zhao Jia's deputy, and then ask the game planner Zhuang Jian to follow him. This kid is more clever, so as to form a negotiation team of 4 people. In addition, he will also prepare a cooperation plan for Zhao Jia. The negotiation strategy is to tell CalmProtagonist that this cooperation is a win-win situation. CalmProtagonist's Dandan Tang will be launched online with the help of CalmProtagonist's user base, and Dandan Tang will be operated online on CalmProtagonist, and the game is very popular. In the future, the platform will attract more users. Now CalmProtagonist, also known as Renren.com, is still on the rise and has not really risen. For them, the most important thing at the moment is to expand the source of users and occupy the market. As long as they understand that Dandan Tang is online on the school network, it will help them expand the source of users, they are likely to agree to cooperate. In the previous life, the school network team cooperated with Happy Farm, the development team of the food stealing game, in order to expand the number of users. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 190. Dong dong, suddenly someone knocked on the door. Please come in. Lu Kaiyu walked in with a cup of coffee. Mr. Li, take a rest and drink a cup of coffee to refresh yourself. Kaiyu, please don't call me Mr. Li in private. Just call me by my first name. Li Jie glanced at her and said with a smile. Because today is the day of the company's interview, Lu Kaiyu, as the guide, wore a standard business attire, a white shirt, and a women's suit. She suddenly transformed from a beautiful female student to a beautiful white-collar woman. It's better to say goodbye. We should distinguish between business and private affairs. I'll call you Mr. Lee during work hours. Lu Kaiyu put down her coffee and said with a smile. Li Jie motioned for her to sit down, then picked up the coffee and took a sip. Are you a little busy at work today? No, it's just handing out number plates and giving guidance. It's quite an easy job. I just feel a little bit. In more than 2 years, we will be looking for jobs and interviews like them. After finishing speaking, Lu Kaiyu reacted and said with a smile, no, you are already your own boss. You don't need to find a job after graduation. I still have to worry about finding a job. Li Jie looked at her and said with a smile, Kaiyu, actually you don't need to find a job. You can just come and work here directly after graduation. Lu Kaiyu was stunned for a moment. Come to work here? But this is a game company. What can I, a liberal arts student, do? Continue to be the front desk. You can also do customer service, game planning, work as my secretary. You can also work as an assistant. The title secretary is too easy for people to misunderstand, especially when a man asks a girl, or a beautiful girl, to be his secretary. Isn't there a saying like that? The secretary has something to do, it's okay. So Li Jie temporarily changed his tune and became an assistant. In fact, there is a difference between an assistant and a secretary. Secretaries are generally responsible for office housekeeping and daily chores, and generally do not participate in management matters. Assistants are assistants who can perform duties on behalf of the general leader when he is absent. For example, the assistant Zhao Jie has been participating in company management on behalf of Li Jie. Although Li Jie changed his words temporarily, Lu Kaiyu still heard it and couldn't help but look a little strange. He bit his lip and said, okay, after graduation, I will come to work for you. Lu Kaiyu didn't stay long and quickly got up and left. Looking at her leaving figure, Li Jackson said that it would be great to have such a secretary. Apart from anything else, having such a beautiful secretary dazzling you in front of your eyes is enough for your eyes. The interview lasted all day on Saturday, and another short interview on Sunday morning, and the interview work was all completed. A total of 35 new employees were recruited during this interview, bringing the number of regular employees of Qwen Technology to 56, plus 7 part-time students. As soon as the interview ended, Li Jie took a taxi and left the company. Why take a taxi? Because his car didn't come today. When he arrived at a Ford store in the city center, Zhou Ziyu was already waiting for him. As soon as Li Jie entered, she greeted him, "Husband, have you finished handling the company's affairs?" "It's done." Li Jie smiled and put his arms around her slim waist. "Have you chosen your car?" "You've chosen." Zhou Ziyu nodded lightly. Li Jie followed Zhou Ziyu to the car she selected. The red body is small and beautiful, which is quite suitable for girls to drive. Volkswagen. Li Jie's knowledge of cars only limited to common brands. As for the car's model and purpose, he couldn't tell clearly. At this time, a young saleswoman in her 20s and 40s came over enthusiastically. "Sir, is this Miss Zhou yours?" "My girlfriend. This red Polo is small and beautiful, fuel efficient and safe. It is very suitable for young girls like Ms. Zhou to drive. The price is not expensive, only about 100,000 yuan. Li Jie walked around the Volkswagen Polo. This car was nice, pretty enough, and suitable for girls to drive, but it just didn't match Zhou Ziyu's temperament. This Polo is too petty. A beautiful and elegant girl like Zhou Ziyu is more suitable to drive a grand, elegant, and individual car. "Tsuyu, let's take a walk and look at other cars." Li Jie and Zhou Ziyu walked around the Ford store together, and suddenly saw a very nice red car. It had a grand, fashionable, and beautiful appearance, and was very suitable for Zhou Ziyu to drive. Seeing that Li Jie had taken a fancy to this car, the saleswoman became even more enthusiastic. "Sir, this Volvo C30 sports car is a new model just launched this year, a personalized sports version." "Is this a sports car?" Li Jie really didn't see it. "This C30 is a coupe, with sports car elements added to it, making the appearance more fashionable and sporty." "Honey, this car is a bit expensive. It's your first training car, so there's no need to buy something too expensive," Josio said softly. Li Jie understood immediately. She must have seen this car before. She thought it was a bit expensive, so she didn't mention it to him. "Don't care if it's expensive or not, just tell me whether you like it or not." "I quite like it." Josio glanced at the car. Li Jie smiled. "If you like it, we'll buy it." After the two discussed it, Li Jie asked the saleswoman, "How much does this car cost?" "Sir, the price of this Volvo C30 is 368,000. Is this car an imported car?" Li Jie had only heard of the Volvo brand and didn't understand the rest at all. Upon hearing this, the female salesperson understood that Li Jie was an outsider, and said with a smile, "Volvo is a high-end European brand, and this C30 is a purely imported car. The quality and safety are guaranteed. Can this car be cheaper?" Li Jie bargained with the salesperson and negotiated a price of 320,000. "However, this is the price of a naked car. If you want to drive it off, it will cost another 40,000 to 50,000 yuan. After looking at the price, Li Jie couldn't talk anymore, so he took out his bank card and swiped it. "It's just a car worth 340,000 yuan. With his wealth, he doesn't need to worry too much about it. Besides, who does Josie like?" The female salesperson took the bank card with a smile on her face. She knew that to have such a beautiful girlfriend, the man's financial strength must be comparable. After paying and signing the car purchase contract, I waited another 4 or 5 hours. During this period, the two went out for a meal at noon and strolled around a commercial street. It was not until around 4 p.m. that the Ford store completed various car purchase procedures such as car insurance, purchase tax, and temporary license plates, and the two were finally able to drive away. Li Jie didn't let Josio drive. There were many people in the city center and he was worried about her, a novice. "Tsuyu, if you like or fancy anything in the future, just tell me directly." "You're welcome and don't have to be embarrassed," Li Jie said with a smile while driving. Josio glanced at him, smiled, and said softly, "Okay." After filling up the new car with gas and leaving the city center to the suburbs, Li Jie swapped places with Josio and let her drive. Instead of going back to school directly, Li Jie asked Josio to practice driving in the suburbs for a while to get familiar with the new car. It wasn't until after 6 o'clock in the evening, when it was getting dark, that he asked her to drive to school. "Ziu, the temporary license plate is valid for 1 month. You don't have to rush to get a formal license plate. Practice driving more every day during this period. When you are familiar with driving, you can go to the city." Li Jie glanced at it with a slight smile on his face. Laughing, "My little lover is driving." It was obvious that she was in a good mood. "Yeah," Josio responded softly. "Husband, don't worry, I will drive carefully." She knew that Li Jie was worried that she had not learned to drive formally and that something might happen to her. When the car arrived near the school, Li Jie asked Josio to stop the car and got out of the car first. Josio glanced at Li Jie through the rearview mirror, hesitated for a moment, then stepped on the accelerator and left. The Volvo C30 was gone, and Li Jie walked calmly to the rental house. Josio has a car, and Xiao Qiao has to make arrangements for it. Otherwise, he would be exposed later and let her know that he bought a car for Josio, his little lover, while she, his real girlfriend, only had an electric car. Treating her so differently would definitely cause her to explode given her little temper. In a rental house. After taking a shower, Li Jia came out of the bathroom and saw Xiao Jiao sitting on the sofa, holding a netbook. He walked to the sofa, sat down next to Xiao Jiao, put his arm around her shoulders. Xiao Jiao, can I buy you a car? Buy a car? Xiao Jiao glanced at him unexpectedly. What kind of car do you like? Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini, Maserati? We will buy whatever you want. Li Jia didn't even mention the BBA series, he just said that it would be a luxury car or a luxury car. Men are like this. They feel that they owe their girlfriend emotionally, and they subconsciously want to compensate her with material things. Ferrari? Porsche? Xiao Jiao was a little confused. Although she was new to cars, she had heard the names of Ferrari and Porsche, and knew that they were extremely expensive luxury cars. Husband, why did you suddenly think of buying me a car? It's just that I went abroad before and made a lot of money. Plus, isn't it your birthday? You want me to give you a nice car as a birthday gift, a beautiful car and a beautiful woman. Li Jia also found that he was a little abrupt. Fortunately, Xiao Jiao's birthday was coming up, so he found an excuse. Xiao Jiao's birthday is March 9th. Xiao Jiao was relieved when he heard this, and said funnily, then you are a bit exaggerated, and you are giving a Porsche as a gift? You also drive a BMW yourself. It doesn't matter if I drive a car that's just right, but my girlfriend must drive a good car, Li Jia said matter-of-factly. Xiao Jiao couldn't help but smile, put down the netbook, and leaned her head into his arms. Okay, hubby, I know you're good to me, but there's really no need for it. I can't drive and I don't need a car. Just give it to me. If you buy a good car and just leave it there, your money will be wasted. Besides, it's okay if you have a car. I'll ride in your car, and you, the professional driver, will drive for me. How nice, her voice was full of satisfaction and happiness. Full-time driver? After hearing this, Li Jia felt very uncomfortable. Xiao Jiao didn't know it yet, but her full-time driver had already secretly started doing private work. Not only does he teach other girls how to drive, but he also teaches how to drive. Jiao Bao, should I buy you a car? If you don't know how to drive, you can learn to drive. I'll teach you step by step. You teach me how to drive. Xiao Jiao became a little interested after hearing this. However, she thought about it and shook her head. Forget it. Honey, I really don't want to drive, and I don't want to learn to drive. I'm still used to taking your car. Seeing that Xiao Jiao really didn't want to buy it, Li Jia didn't say anything more, but just hugged her tighter. What gift do you want for your birthday? Anything is fine, as long as it's from you. I like it. Josia drove into the school from the north gate. When she arrived at the parking lot, she found that the parking space next to Li Jia's 530i was still empty, so she reversed and parked the car. After getting out of the car and looking at the two cars, one white and one red, next to each other, Josia couldn't help but smile. How childish, she commented to herself in her mind, but the smile on her lips did not disappear. On March 5, Zhao Jia and others are going to the capital to discuss cooperation with the school network. Li Jia specially asked for leave and went to the company to discuss the cooperation plan with Zhao Jia and others, and then the four of them were sent to the airport in person. Mr. Li, don't worry, I will definitely do my best. Li Jia nodded to her. If anything happens to you, call me in time. After seeing off Zhao Jia and his party, Li Jia drove back to school. When I returned to the dormitory, it was around 2 p.m. There is no class this afternoon. He's Higang and Yang Hao are watching movies around the computer. Wang's Haiheng is typing. His new book is an oriental fantasy with a rather domineering title, The Supreme Martial God. ER's creativity and ideas are borrowed from martial arts without limits. That's right, this guy has learned from Li Jia again. However, the most indispensable thing for online articles is to follow the trend. As soon as martial arts without limits became popular, many authors followed the trend and wrote Eastern fantasy. After more than half a year, this subject has been written a bit badly. Without some fresh ideas, it will be difficult to attract readers. The routines written by Wang Haiheng are a bit old, so it has been a week since I started the book, but the results are still tepid. The disappointment in his expectations made him a little impatient. I said you just watch movies, why are you always laughing? Wang Haiheng said loudly and irritably. While watching the movie, He's Higang and Yang Hao looked at each other, and then He's Higang said to Wang Haiheng, Hengzi, even if you are in a bad mood, you can't take it out on your brother, right? His tone was also a little unhappy. What's wrong with you? Li Jie walked in with a large pile of posters. Wang Haiheng glanced at Li Jie, then at He's Higang and Yang Hao. Without saying anything, he turned around and went out. He's Higang smiled and said, it's nothing. Hengzi didn't get good grades in his new book and was a little moody. Jizi, what is that in your hand? Poster. Li Jie said to He's Higang and Yang Hao, if you two are okay, can you help me put up the poster? When it came to recruiting game promoters, Li Jie did not go to the counselor Zhang Han, but went directly to the head teacher Yu Yang. Yu Yang helped him contact a director of the department and got the approval slip for the event and the venue. The recruitment day is set for the 22nd of this month, in a large activity room on the first floor of the gymnasium. For recruitment promotion, in addition to posting posters on campus, Li Jie also contacted Shen Yu, the Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Literature and Art, and asked her to help contact the administrator of the school forum, who also posted promotional posts on the forum. Hearing that Li Jie wanted to recruit a group of beautiful girls to serve as game promoters, He's Higang and Yang Hao immediately became energetic. Jizi, are you looking for a part-time job or a beauty pageant? He's Higang looked envious. Brother Jie, can you let me help you on the day of recruitment? Yang Hao said with a smile on his face. Jizi, I'm going to help you too, He's Higang said quickly after hearing this. Hazi, don't you have Nanachu? Li Jie glanced at Yang Hao. Having a girlfriend doesn't stop me from appreciating other beauties. Of course, my heart is always with Nana, Yang Hao said with a smile. Brother Jie, just let me help. Li Jie glanced at the two of them and said seriously, you two can go and help, but you must not strike up a conversation. The people who come for the interview are all our classmates and seniors. The reception must be polite and courteous. He's Higang and Yang Hao looked at each other and promised at the same time. Brother Jie, don't worry. Our attitude is absolutely polite and courteous. Yes. Jizi, don't worry. With the power of the beauty, the two of them were very motivated. He's Higang rushed to take the promotional poster from Li Jie. Jizi, just leave the matter of distributing the poster to me and Hazi. You can rest. Li Jie didn't give all the posters to them, but left a dozen posters. You two put them up at school, and I'll go to the aviation academy next door and put up some too. He's Higang smiled and tooted, Jizi, are you too greedy? We have caught all the beauties in our school, and you are still not satisfied. You are still thinking about the beauties in Hangyuan. Yang Hao smiled and said, Brother Jie, how about I accompany you to Hangyuan Post Bar? I haven't been to Hangyuan yet. Li Jie said angrily and funny, I told you, it's not a beauty pageant, I'm recruiting part-timers for a regular job, you two LSPS, don't always think wrongly. After that, he stopped talking nonsense with them, took the poster and left. Dormitory 408. Josiah was practicing yoga on a mat on the ground. Wearing only a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, she started doing yoga poses, revealing her curves and her graceful body, which was extremely alluring. Huo Lily sat on a chair and stared at her. Ziu, you are so beautiful and feminine. If I were a man, I would be fascinated by you. It's no wonder your boyfriend loves you so much. We just got together. I bought you a car. For a beautiful woman like Josie who drives a very stylish car, it is difficult for her not to be noticed. On the second day after buying the car, she was practicing driving and went to the parking lot to pick up the car. She was spotted by a familiar classmate. Within a day, the whole class knew about it, and soon many people in the school also knew about it. Tsuyu, you should be the first girl in our school to own a car, Cao Xiaoqian said. Ziyu, you have overshadowed Xiaoqiao, another girl named Song Ziona said with a smile. Li Jia is so rich, but he didn't buy her a car. When Song Ziona mentioned Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu paused slightly while practicing yoga. After practicing yoga, Zhou Ziyu rested for a while, changed her clothes, and got ready to go out. Tsuyu, are you going to practice driving again? Huo Lily asked upon seeing this. Yeah, Zhou Ziyu nodded lightly. Go out and practice some laps. Take me with you. I'll go for a ride with you, Huo Lily said. Tsuyu, take me with you too, Song Ziona also said quickly. Okay, Zhou Ziyu glanced at the two girls and nodded. The three girls left the dormitory together, and when they went down to the second floor, they happened to meet two girls, Xiaoqiao and Zhang Qian, who were also going downstairs. Zhou Ziyu and Xiaoqiao met at a dormitory party, and they were considered acquaintances. Xiaoqiao, Zhou Ziyu said hello with a slight smile. Tsuyu, Xiaoqiao also said hello with a smile. Tsuyu, where are you going? Let's go out for a walk, Xiaoqiao, what about you? Let's go buy something. After all, the two of them were not familiar with each other. After a brief chat, they said no more and parted ways at the door of the dormitory. Zhang Qian glanced at Zhou Ziyu's leaving figure, turned around and said to Xiaoqiao, this Zhou Ziyu is really getting more and more beautiful. I heard that she also has a boyfriend, and her boyfriend even bought her a car. After she finished speaking, she found that Xiaoqiao was a little dazed. Xiaoqiao, what are you thinking about? Nothing. Xiaoqiao turned around and smiled at her. You said Zhou Ziyu's boyfriend bought her a car. When did this happen? Just these 2 days. Do you know what kind of car it is? I don't know that. Xiaoqian, can you help me ask? The three girls, Zhou Ziyu, Huo Lily, and Song Ziona, walked for 15 or 6 minutes before arriving at the parking lot at the Zhenbei gate. Ziyu, why did you park the car so far away? Song Ziona said a little bitterly. For safety's sake, Li Zhe's car was almost stolen. There are security guards watching at the north gate and there are many cameras. As Huo Lily said, she noticed the BMW 530i parked next to the red Volvo C30, isn't this Li Zhe's BMW? Then, she thought of something, and said to Song Ziona with a mysterious smile, do you know? This is the first time I saw this car. After hearing this, Song Ziona was both surprised and excited, they are really so bold. In the car, that Xiaoqiao looked very innocent and well behaved, but I didn't expect that he was quite open-minded. Of course it's true, Huo Lily looked at Zhou Ziyu, and I discovered this together, right Ziyu? Zhou Ziyu glanced at her doubtfully, what did you find? Huo Lily. Ziyu, why are you like this? Seeing this, Song Ziona felt a little doubtful again. Zhou Ziyu took out the car key and pressed it on the Volvo C30. The car lights flashed and made a buzzing sound. Get in the car. Looking at the red Volvo C30, Song Ziona immediately no longer cared about Huo Lily's gossip. Tsuyu, your car is so beautiful and grand. What brand is this car? Isn't it cheap? Volvo entered the country relatively late, and its reputation is far inferior to that of the BBA series. For many car newbies, it is normal that they have never heard of or recognize it. This car is so beautiful, it can't be cheap. Huo Lily is also a car novice. She judges the price of a car based on whether it looks good or not. Zhou Ziyu smiled and said, it's okay, it's not too expensive. That means it's not cheap, Huo Lily heard her subtext. How much is it? Zhou Ziyu smiled and said nothing. Ziyu, why don't you have a door in the back seat of your car? How do you get in the car? Song Ziona discovered the problem. This car is a two-door car. Zhou Ziyu opened the passenger door, pressed the switch, moved the seat, and first let Song Ziona climb into the back seat, then moved the seat back and let Huo Lily get into the passenger seat. After both of them got in the car, she got into the driver's seat, started the car, and drove out of the school. Many people say it's too short, so try posting a larger chapter. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 191. The car left the school from the north gate and drove south. Soon it arrived outside the small south gate of the school. Huo Lily suddenly pointed out the window and said, "Hey, isn't that Li Jie?" As soon as Zhou Ziyu heard Li Jie's name, he subconsciously slowed down the car. Looking in the direction of Huo Lily's finger, he saw Li Jie walking out of the small south gate with a pure, well-behaved, and beautiful girl. Song Ziona in the back seat was surprised and said, "It's really Li Jie, but who is the girl next to him? She looks so pure and well-behaved." Shenzhenyi, Zhou Ziyu read the girl's name silently in her heart. The time goes back to 7 or 8 minutes ago. Li Jie took the poster and left the dormitory. Not far away, he saw a familiar figure from behind, Xinyi. Shen Xian turned around and saw that it was Li Jie. She was stunned for a moment and said with a smile, "Li Jie, long time no see." "It's been a long time," Li Jie said with a smile. Since the elective course ended in December last year, he has not seen Shen Xinyi for 3 or 4 months. She dressed very simply, wearing a white sweater, jeans, her hair shawl, a little makeup, a pair of small silver earrings, and a little pink lipstick. His temperament is a little more mature and stable than before, but he is still so pure, cute, and well-behaved. "Li Jie, what are you going to do?" Shen Xian glanced at the poster in Li Jie's hand. "Go put up posters." "What poster?" "Poster looking for part-time jobs." "What about you?" "What are you going to do?" Li Jie asked her instead. "I'm going to Xiaonanmen to buy something." "Are you going to buy food?" Li Jie thought for a while and said with a smile. "There are food stalls outside Xiaonanmen. What else can this foodie buy there?" Shen Xinyi smiled a little sheepishly. "There is a new seller selling stir-fried rice cakes at Xiaonanmen. The food is delicious." After a pause, she asked again, "Li Jie, where are you going to put up posters?" "Go to the Hangyuan next door." "Hangyuan?" Shen Xinyi looked a little surprised. "Li Jie, how about I post it for you? I see quite a few posters." Li Jie subconsciously glanced at the poster in his hand. "Is a dozen posters a lot?" "Okay. Then you help me put up posters, and I'll treat you to your 60th birthday." "Okay," Shen Xian smiled and nodded. The two of them walked side by side towards the Xiaonan gate. The Aviation Vocational College is just south of the normal college, so you can buy 60s on the way to the Aviation College without delay. As Li Jie walked, he looked at Shen Xinyi again. "What's wrong?" Shen Xian noticed Li Jie looking at her. "I always feel that you are not suitable for wearing makeup. It is said that girls look different with makeup and without makeup. It is true that some girls are very beautiful when they put on makeup, but they are ordinary after taking off the makeup. But girls like Shen Xinyi, who excel in being pure and well-behaved, are not suitable for wearing makeup. After putting on makeup and becoming more mature, her pure and well-behaved temperament has been covered up a lot, and she is no longer so spirited." Li Jie still remembered the first time he met Shen Xinyi outside the cafeteria when school started. She was dressed in a military training uniform and a vegetarian. He was really amazed by her. She had deer-like eyes and was extremely pure and well-behaved. He had only felt this kind of amazing feeling from her and Zhou Ziyu. However, Zhou Ziyu is extremely beautiful and charming. As for Xiao Qiao, She is also very beautiful, but she is not the kind that is extremely stunning. She excels in her expressions and smile. Li Jie has never seen a girl with richer expressions and a prettier smile than hers. What it means to be smart and cute, and what it means to have a smile like a flower, it's all about her. Shen Xinyi didn't understand what Li Jie meant and said with a smile, I'm not very suitable for makeup. I prefer makeup. Even if I wear makeup, the change is not too big. I mean you look better without makeup. Li Jie couldn't help but add another sentence. No makeup, Shen Xian shook his head lightly. My bare face makes me look too young, as if I'm underage. I also like to dress myself up to look more mature. Shen, you are not good now? Xinyi, how old are you today? Li Jie asked curiously. I just turned 18 this year, Shen Xian said with a smile. It turns out that you and Tsuyu are the same age, so I wonder which one of you has an older birthday? As they talked, the two quickly arrived at the small south gate. As soon as I walked out of the small south gate, a very familiar, soft, and pleasant female voice suddenly came. Why is it that every time he meets other girls, his little lover always sees him? An idea flashed in Li Jie's mind. He turned around and saw Zhou Ziyu sitting on the red Volvo C30, looking at him with a smile. It's time to act again. Li Jie walked over with Shen Xinyi, came to the car and said to Zhou Ziyu with a smile, Ziyu, we meet again, where are you going? He recognized Huo Lily, who was sitting in the passenger seat. He had met her during a social gathering last year, but he didn't recognize the fair-skinned and fat girl in the back seat. Well, it's a coincidence that we meet again, Zhou Ziyu said, looking at Shen Xinyi next to Li Jie. Who is this? Li Jie understood what she meant by saying it was a coincidence. His little lover is teasing him. This is Shen Xinyi, my friend, Li Jie introduced. After he finished speaking, he introduced Shen Xinyi, this is Zhou Ziyu, who is also my friend. Zhou Ziyu and Shen Xian looked at each other and nodded to each other. Where are you going? How about I stop you for a while, Zhou Ziyu said politely. No, you can go ahead and do your thing, we're not far away, Li Jie refused with a smile. After Zhou Ziyu drove away, Shen Xian glanced at the car driving away, turned around and said to Li Jie with a sigh, this sister Zhou is so beautiful. You call her sister, Li Jie said a little funny. What's wrong? Shen Xinyi was a little confused. She is the same age as you, so I don't know which one of you is older in months. Maybe you are older than her, Li Jie said with a smile. Ah, Shen Xinyi exclaimed in surprise, with a cute little expression. Real. Real. I envy her so much. She is so beautiful, sexy, and elegant. She is so beautiful and elegant. I wish I could be like her, her expression and tone were full of envy. She is beautiful, and you are cute too, Li Jie glanced at Shen Xian and said with a smile. Cute, Shen Xian muttered, obviously not satisfied with this evaluation. Li Jie shook his head in his heart. It was difficult for him to understand Shen Xinyi's thoughts. Obviously she is the innocent and cute type, but she must be envious and want to be mature and sexy. When I came to a small stall selling flower armor, I found that the seller was a woman in her 30s, wearing a white apron and dressed neatly. Classmate, are you buying 60 for your girlfriend? The female boss said to Li Jie with a smile. Girlfriend? Li Jie subconsciously looked at Shen Xinyi. She was hesitant to speak and wanted to defend herself, but for some reason she didn't. No, we are classmates, he still explained. The female boss said softly, how many 60s do you want? Want, a big portion. Li Jie, you don't want to eat? Shen Xian asked. Well, I won't eat it, Li Jie said with a smile. After a few minutes, smelling the aroma of stir-fried scallops, Shen Xinyi said a little intoxicated, it smells so good. Smells right. The female boss glanced at her and said with a smile, My fried rice cakes definitely don't taste good. Seeing that the 60-year-old was about to be fired, Li Jie took out his wallet to pay. Shen Xinyi said quickly, Li Jie, no need, I will just pay for it myself. As she spoke, she took out the money from her pocket. Isn't it agreed that if you put up posters for me, I'll treat you to a meal? Li Jie said with a smile. After saying that, he took out a 50 yuan note from his wallet and handed it to the female boss. A large portion of huajia cost 15 yuan, and the female boss gave Li Jie another 35 yuan, and then handed the fried huajia to Shen Xinyi. After taking the flour armor, Shen Xian used chopsticks to pick up one and tasted it. The freshly fried scallops were a bit hot, so she blew on them while eating them, hiss. It's so hot, but it's delicious. Looking at Shen Xian's fair face, it was bulging with chewing movements. The food was delicious, and she looked a little intoxicated. Li Jie couldn't help but smile. Seeing how delicious she was eating, he felt a little hungry. Noticing that Li Jie was looking at her and smiling, Shen Xinyi was a little embarrassed. I haven't put up the poster for you yet, so I'm going to eat the 60th birthday you bought. Why don't you try it too? It tastes really good. Once you have eaten it once, you will like it? No. It's okay, you have a taste. Seeing Shen Xian handing a handful of 60-year-olds to him, Li Jie picked one up and tasted it. The taste is good, but it's not like you'll fall in love with it after eating it once. He is not very particular about what he eats, as long as it is not too unpalatable and can fill his stomach. How is it? Is it delicious? Shen Xinyi looked expectant. You said it tastes delicious, how can I say it tastes bad? Yeah, it's delicious. Li Jie smiled and nodded. Hearing what Li Jie said, Shen Xian smiled happily and said, then let's eat together. I can't eat such a large portion myself. You've definitely got enough to eat? Li Jie complained in his heart. He had eaten with Shen Xian once and had seen her appetite, which was definitely considered good among girls. Although she doesn't eat very fast, she can always eat, even if she shouts, I can't take it anymore, I'm too full, I really can't eat anymore. In fact, she could still eat some more. How do you say that? The mouth says no, but the body is very honest. Eating only huajia will make you thirsty, so Li Jie went to buy 2 bottles of water, and then the two of them ate huajia while walking towards Hangyuan. The Aviation Vocational College is very close to the Teachers College, just over 1,000 meters, one stop away. Li Jie and Shen Xinyi walked a little slowly while eating, but they arrived at the Hangyuan in only 15 or 6 minutes. Walking into the campus, Li Jie found that the quality of the girls at the Aviation Academy was indeed high. Compared with the normal college, they were just as good as them. Especially, they had a lot more long legs, which was very rare.